Hi everyone, and welcome to Bracy Ag Services. In this video on Granular Insights Nitrogen Tool. This nitrogen tool was developed as a way to help growers know how their nitrogen is being used throughout the season in relation to weather and other forces. Additionally, this model can help with timing decisions and questions like, how much N did I lose with this abnormally wet summer? Or, should I pull back on a late season nitrogen application because of drought or other unfavorable conditions? With Granular Insights Nitrogen Streamline process, we can shed light on these questions and make faster, more accurate decisions. Now let's jump into Granular Nitrogen and see how this program works. As you can see, I've logged into Granular Insights. On the left-hand navigation bar, in the past we've chose Activities, Summary, or Insights. Today we're going to choose Nitrogen. If you are enrolled in the Nitrogen program, it will populate with your available fields. Today we're going to be working on field Ricks Northeast. As you can see, we already have a planting activity within this field. What we have to do now is initially start by setting a yield goal for this location. So let's select Add Yield Goal. Now we know that this field is an irrigated field, so it will likely be higher than average for the bushels that we wish to harvest. Let's choose 260 bushel average and click Save. Another thing we must do on Ricks Northeast is, because it's irrigated, we need to check on the decision zones. This button is in the top left. Here we can make sure that it has an irrigation layer already within the field. Do this by adding new zones. Click Create New Irrigation Layer and give your center pivot or other type of irrigation a name. Now select the circle polygon. It may be easy enough to zoom in and see the physical structure of the center pivot. This will aid in knowing how large to make your circle. Click here and drag the circle out. One thing to keep in mind is when we are tracing the outline of the center pivot, it may be necessary to go beyond the physical structure. Remember, a lot of end guns throw 60 feet further than the very tip of the machine. This will give us an effective radius of where the water is actually going to land within the boundary. Once the pivot circles have been drawn in, click Save. Make sure that the box is checked next to the pivot name. Then, at the top where it says Zone Name, let's replace ERU with Irrigation Layer so we can identify this at a later time. And select Generate Zones. Once the zone is generated, come down here. We can see that the average yield goal has not been set yet. Click Edit Yield Goals. We now have the ability to set what we want our yield to be under the water and in the dryland areas. So let's do this at this time. Let's say the average yield for a dryland area in this field is going to be 190 bushel. We can also adjust the minimum and the maximums that we want to see. When this is complete, click Save Changes. We now have effectively added a management layer. We can click the Back to Nitrogen program now at this time. Here we can see we are back on Ricks Northeast and we only have our planting activity. So let's put in some nitrogen activities at this time and see how our model reacts. First, we're going to start with the fall applications that we either have done or plan to do in the fall or the winter on this field. Let's begin with what we know. The first application on this field is likely to happen in January when we spread some chicken litter. Select a tentative date and then select an input. Simply start to type like in the previous videos where we were entering products. Here we have the ability to choose the actual rate applied or a product rate. We know that we are going to apply 1 ton per acre, which equates to 26.8 pounds of nitrogen per acre. Now select the method. This is going to be broadcast and not incorporated. Additionally, it will have no inhibitors. Add event. We now have added our very first nitrogen event. The program is running to see how this will affect the model, although I'm sure that only 27 pounds isn't going to tip the scale. So let's keep moving. I've gone ahead and built the base plan that will likely be on all of the acres within this operation. We've got the initial nitrogen of a poultry litter application. We have a 2x2 application that was applied with the planter. And next we have a weed and feed application of 35 gallons that would have been applied with a truck. So this brings us to when we have to make a decision going forward in the season, and how this model plays in and is important as we go throughout the season. How many pounds do we need to effectively hit our target of 260 bushel per acre? Now we can move this heavier or lighter depending on the growing season and what our graphs are showing. Typically, we will apply either through a center pivot or through a truck with a Y drop application. Let's go ahead and add one more application of nitrogen with the Y drops. Select nitrogen, and let's select a date that would be appropriate. Let's do mid to late June on this one. We'll do June 20th. We'll do 28%. And let's put on an actual nitrogen rate of 80 pounds, which equates to 26.78 gallons per acre. This is going to be broadcast, not incorporated. It will have an inhibitor, and we're going to call this one Y drop. We've now added this application to our field. Let's wait and see what the model shows. The model has just got done updating, and it shows we are 1 pound to the good within the model. One thing to consider is that this field, as I've stated before, is an irrigated field. So let's put some events in there now for irrigation. We can select a single event or recurring. Let's do single event for now. We're going to say that we began watering this field probably early June, and let's put on 8/10 of water initially. We can add another water event. Most likely we will be watering in July on these acres, say July 5th. And as we're getting close to tassel, we're going to start bumping the rate up. Now let's go and check our models. Here you can see we brought up the model and we have our stats here on the left like there has been in previous videos. It shows our current nitrogen ratio of 21 pounds and a projected at tassel of 1 pound to the good. We want 78 pounds. Once again, projected is 79. Here at the bottom, we can see our graph in the various nitrogen applications that we've done on this field. We first got our manure application, a nitrogen application of 1034-0, and then our weed and feed application. We moved out, and here we have our 28 application through the Y drops. You can see every time we add nitrogen to this graph, we get a spike. Additionally, as we move throughout the growing season, weather is trying to pull this back down through mineralization or leaching. Another option, while we're on this chart, is to take a look at how the nitrogen performs throughout the season. Select in the top right corner, Field Nitrogen Performance. This is going to give us a good representation of what nitrogen is doing throughout the growing season. Based on the key here at the bottom, we have leached nitrogen, which we can see continually goes up little by little. If we get heavier rains, this line will likely jump up faster than is what represented here on this graph. We have crop uptake. This is likely around the V8 to VT time frame, where our nitrogen intake increases exponentially. We also have things like mineralize and volatilization. These graphs can be used throughout the growing season to tailor applications to make sure that you get the most out of your nitrogen. Keep in mind, this program is meant to be reactive to changing weather. Did we just get a 4-inch rain in 10 hours? You better go to the nitrogen model and see how it affected your N level, and will there be enough nitrogen available at the time of tassel? While currently looking at this model, we can see that on average, we are safe. But we know as farmers, weather is anything but average anymore. That's going to wrap up the nitrogen program within Granular Insights. Hopefully in the upcoming season, you have a chance to take advantage of this tool. Is there a field that could be pushed harder to maximize yield? Or maybe there are acres that one size doesn't fit all, and nitrogen could be pulled back, or placed at a different time to save on your input dollars. Whatever the reason, let us know here at Bracy Ag Services, or contact your local rep for pricing on granular nitrogen. Thanks everyone for watching.